Hello, welcome back. I hope you're doing very well. Quite a short video today, and it's a bit of an odd one because the kind of demonstration of this technique I've created to show you sounds garbage for the simple reason that I've piled on way too much of this thing because I wanted to make sure you could actually see what was going on and see the impact of it. So what we're going to do is look at per step automation, specifically as it relates to drum pads. So we're not talking about knob turny kind of automation. It's putting specific instructions on specific steps of the sequencer. And it's kind of exciting when it comes to drum pads because of the sheer depth of options or destinations there are. I had no idea until recently. And I think quite a lot of people might not realize how much depth there is. It's kind of Elektron sequencer levels of kind of power. So to demonstrate it, I've got two identical tracks here. They've got the same 808 kit on them, playing the same pattern. The first one has none of this modulation or automation on it. The second one has way too much. So let's listen to those. So this is the first one, just straight, no automation. This is the second one. So you can hear we've got reverb coming in and out. One of our samples is reversing occasionally. We changed the pitch of our sub. There's some overdrive coming in and out as well. Back to the first one. No, nothing. Too much. So all of that has been done with per step modulation. Now you wouldn't use that much, obviously. You would use it much more sparingly. So what I'm going to do is just show you how that works, and then we'll go through a quick example of actually applying it to a drum. So what I'm going to do is on our kind of overly modulated kit, this is what the clip looks like. It's just a standard clip. So what we want to do is go to the step sequencer, and this is our snare kind of clap sound. So just to show you what's going on, I'm going to solo it. And then when we play it, you can hear we've got the first hit is wet, second hit is dry and reversed. So by default, when we're in the step sequencer, Force will show you velocity, which is basically loudness and whether the note is on and playing or not. We don't want that. We want to tap on parameter, and you can see here I've got two other parameters set up. The first is send, second is reverse. So taking the first one first, we know from our mixer that send one is our reverb send. So you can see here what I've done is I've selected that parameter, and our first note is on, which means reverb send is happening, and our second note is off, which means reverb send isn't happening. So if we listen to that, we can hear wet, nothing, wet, nothing. If we then go down to our second parameter, which is our layer one or our sample reverse, you can see that the pattern in the sequencer for that is the mirror opposite of that. So whereas the reverb was on at the start and off at the second, we've gone the other way. So basically it treats the reverse as an effect. So the effect is off and then on, reverse. So wet, reverse. So that's really as simple as it is to set this up. You select the parameter that you want to affect, which is where it gets interesting. And then you go into the sequencer and you say, I want it here, but not here. So I'm going to now show you how to actually set that up. So we're going to mute that track, and I'll mute our kind of vanilla track, if you like. So this is what we're working with. So we're going to do the same thing. Wrong track. This is our kick drum, so I'm going to solo our kick drum, and now all we're getting is our 4 on the floor kick drum. So what I'm going to do, just to demonstrate one way of doing this, we're going to go to the track edit menu, and on drum kits, if we go to effects and then tap effect again, we get to the specific or the kind of the baked in drum effect. So what I want to do is basically pick something that will be very easy to hear. So we're going to go down to the bit crusher. And if we turn that all the way up, it's very obvious that we've got something going on. So that is in FX slot 1. So bear that in mind. So what we're going to do now is go to our step sequencer for our kick drum, and we're going to go to down to the parameter and click add new. Now this is one of these things where I don't understand what's going on here. I think when I said there might be some little bugs, it won't let me add new. Oh no, see now pad A1 has come back. It wasn't there before. I don't know what's going on with that, whether it's a bug or whether I'm doing something wrong. But anyway, we are selecting pad A1, which is this pad. And mixer, if we were to look at mixer, this has got all the standard mixer controls that you would expect. Not particularly interesting. But where it gets interesting is parameters. So if we go to parameters, we have an insane amount of things that we can control with this automation. It also works for macros as well. So everything, all of the filter controls you could think of, amp envelope controls, filter envelope controls, pitch envelope controls, drum effects 1, which is the one we want, but we'll come back to it. Our sample layers, if we've got different samples stacked on this one pad, we can pan each of them individually. We can set the tuning individually for each one. There's offset. There is a million things you can do here, and I'm not going to go into all of them because it would literally take all day. But that just goes to show you how much power there is in here. So we're going to go back to our drum effects and FX1, which is the one where we set the bit crusher. So to turn that on, what we're going to do is go like that so that it's on. So that if we left it like that, it would be on all the time. But what we want to do is turn it off on our other notes, on our second notes. Do the same thing for our whole pattern. Bring that down, bring that down. 1, 2, 3, 4, up, up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wrong one. So now we've got this alternating pattern of on, off, which should work. Fingers crossed it works. Yeah. So we can see now that the effect is switching on, switching off as the playhead comes through. So that's basically how you set that whole thing up. And as I said, the number of parameters that you've got are absolutely insane. And I think if you've got a load of samples stacked on a pad and you start on different steps of the sequencer, panning them in different ways, changing the filter cutoff in different ways, doing different reverb and delay sends, you can really create some lovely, interesting effects. And it's going to be even more powerful, I think, when the probability comes in, because you'll be able to then apply the probability to these steps. So sometimes they will automate, sometimes they will modulate. So it's really exciting. And as I said, I think this is Elektron level power in the Akai device.